All right, the time's come. We're gonna start machining the rails on the Flex CNC. I got Aaron here from Flex, and he's gonna give us a hand. He's been here all day today with me, going over everything we gotta do, getting it set, and he's ready to send it. So we're gonna start with these first two rails here. We're gonna be machining the tops off of these guys, but we're gonna start with the top, and then we're gonna come in there later and mill the inside. So just because I'm gonna let him begin this and let everything start. He's gonna make sure everything's good to go. We're using a Walter 2-inch face mill to do this. Brand new tool, so he's gonna be kind of proving it out as we begin. Because of the safety limits on this, it's really difficult to get in very close to the machine to get any filming without putting the camera inside. So we're just gonna kind of stand off and watch this as we begin. I know I can get, okay. All right, we gotta, yeah, all right, so we gotta adjust our Z. We were just seeing if we could just deck the top, but he's gonna go ahead and stop it and reset. I hear it making chips this time. How's the finish looking, Aaron? Okay. We are being a little conservative with the cutter. I was going off the Walter specs. It was going to be pretty fast, so we just kind of cut it in half. Are we at 100%? Yeah. Okay. All right, man, it's looking good to me. All right, our very first rail is decked off on the top. Aaron's gonna go ahead and he's working on the second rail now for our first pair. We're just gonna leave this the same, but once we finish with this, before we move over to there, we're gonna see if we can improve our finish. We're gonna change our feed rate and RPM a little bit, see if we can get a little bit better finish on the other one. There's nothing wrong with this at all. It's more of a visual thing. But we'll see if we can get a little bit better finish out of that. So we've got first 3 done. Now Aaron's on this rail right here. So we're gonna just do these first 2 here. After this, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the inside and get those milled next. Basically prove out all of our cutters so that I can take it from here and then get the next 4 rails completed. All right, guys, we're doing the inside milling, making our first pass. We're actually on this rail right here. We just started on the inside. The mill that we're using is a helical roughing end mill. I think they call it the knuckle buster. And then we'll have a 1/2 inch finishing rougher to just kind of clean up the inside and make a nice clean cut on the inside of it there. Aaron's just kind of watching everything, making sure that everything's good to go with our feeds and speeds. And we are running through Spindle coolant now. How's it looking, man?
Looks good. Sounding pretty good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a nice shot there.
Back the feed off a little bit, so we're going about 55 inches a minute.
Okay. All right, so that's gonna be this guy right here, inside of that rail. All right, so we're running about 4280 on the RPM now, 100% on our feed, about 68.5 inch a minute. All right, it's off the end of the first rail. Moved over, and we're going to be heading back now. So we went ahead and filled up our, we got our coolant sump there filled up. We're using the Master Fluids, the Trim Microsol 685. All right, we're finishing out this one now, right here, with our roughing. We're still gonna go through there with our finishing mill and finish the inside. We got approximately 8 or 9 thousandths to finish it to our 20 millimeter width there. And we're just gonna finish out these first 2. I'm gonna work on these at a later time. We're onto our finishing mill now. Well, how's the finish look and feel?
Feels great. Still getting some coolant down in there. It's kind of hard to
Yeah,
see what
okay.
it looks like.
Running, so a little over 4,500 RPM and 57 inches a minute. This is I believe that was a 5-flute helical finishing with it's got the little grooves cut in it for sort of like a roughen, chip breakers, I think is what they call it. So it should finish it out pretty good. I believe it's only taken about 5 thousandths on the side. So a total of about, I don't know, 9 or 10 thousandths, somewhere there is what we're going to be finishing out at. All right, there it goes back down the other side. First rail is almost finished. All right, so we've got our first 2 rails finished. As I said, I'm gonna finish those myself. Aaron's actually getting ready. He's gonna be leaving first thing in the morning. It's getting pretty late, so we're gonna wrap it up. So what he's about to do is blow air through the spindle to clean the coolant out of the spindle, right?
Yeah, so the Heimer holders that we ran, they have the through coolant ports that run all the way through the length of the tool. So when we were machining, we were running the through spindle coolant. So before I put this tool away, I'm just gonna kind of get all that back pressure of coolant out of the tool, so we're not spraying it back in the tool carousel.
Okay. You got it set up for what, a 10-second?
Yep. So
10-second dwell.
M54 is the through tool air, and then the G4 with the X10, the X is in seconds, so we're dwelling for 10 seconds, let that air kind of clean out the tool, and then the M64 shuts it off, and now we're good to put the tool back away.
Okay. And then you told me it's good to always put the tool away when we're done. Don't leave it in the spindle.
Yep.
Okay. T0 M6?
You got it.
Hey, I remembered one. All right, putting it away. There it is. So we're ready to shut it down now. That's going to be about it. He's getting ready to head out, and we've had Rob with us here today too from Heimer, and we'll have more on that later. Rob's been here training us on our Heimer Uno Smart and the Heimer Power Clamp, and he's setting the alarm off over here. But I do want to jump into our Heimer machines and talk a little bit more about that. But Rob's getting ready to leave too, so he's heading home. I'll bring you guys back whenever I get back on the machine and start finishing this guy out, okay? So I'm running the Flex unsupervised right now. Come in the next day, trying to get the rest of the rails machines. So we're starting off with the 2-inch face mill to mill the tops of them off. And we'll do that for each of the 4 rails that need to be machined. And then we'll do the roughing and then the finish mill. So it's just gonna take a little while. You know, a lot of repetition, same cut, so I don't want to bore you guys with the same old footage, but we may try to, I don't know, I may try to get the camera inside there so you can just see a little bit more detail of the machining. But we got her going, and I'm excited to get this part of the process done. All right, everything's working well. This is the one that we just cut right there. Minus the chips, it's got a nice smooth feel to it. So this is the end of that rail there. And the program should stop. Yep. So the way Aaron's got the program is that once the program finishes the end of that operation, it stops. It doesn't move on to the next milling op there. So from there, we go in here and I adjust. Let me see. I'll adjust. We got to go to manual and then work offset. And then we'll have to adjust Y with our 250 millimeter value in the positive direction to move from this rail here now to that rail. All right, so we'll go ahead and do that now. We're gonna click on Y. And I already learned this morning to really pay attention to this because right off the bat, right when I started, I clicked on Z thinking that I was clicking on Y only because I wasn't paying attention, and I added my value to Z. So once I hit cycle start, it threw an alarm saying I was past the limits. Had to figure out what I was doing, and I realized I had clicked on this box because I wasn't paying attention to the axis that I was on. So we are clicked on Y right there. All right, and we're gonna hit plus 9.8425. Enter. Change y-axis work offset. Yes. That should be correct. Go back to auto and we're going to hit cycle start. And there it comes. And then this is how we'll adjust the feed rate. So I'm going to turn this guy down on the pendant just to make sure everything is right before we start. Looks like it. Matter of fact, we'll take the controller. Try not to sling the remote off. I've already done that once. And that way we can visually see it in the window here. I'm going to go ahead and crank back up on my feed here on the dial. A little at a time. And just kind of watch it once we know it starts making its cut properly. There we go. All right, it looks good. So now we'll go ahead and feed it back up to 100%. There we go, 100% on our feed rate. Okay, we're just gonna keep it going, move our controller out here a little bit, and continue on with our machining here. That's the one we just did. So now we're working on this guy there. Let's see if we can get you guys a little shot on the inside of the machine here while we machine this next rail. We just finished face milling all of the rails, so we're gonna move on to the end mill now. And so we've been using the air blast the entire time while we're using the face mill. I wanted to just point out, so the Kaiser's been doing really good, our air tower, and it's about to shut off there now. So the Kaiser's been running the whole time we've been doing the face mill because the air blast consumes as much air as the Kaiser is building up. So whenever it kicks on, it stays about that PSI. But So I think it was right around 24, 25 CFM is what it puts out. There it goes, just shut down. But it's been doing good. And I had verified with Kaiser that our unit is rated to do 100% duty cycle, and it is. So this thing is made so that it will run continuously if you need it to. But that's been super nice running the air blast the entire time on the Flex. So I don't see that ever really being an issue unless we have maybe a big work piece on here and we're doing a lot of milling. We're using a lot of air blast, but I just wanted to point out that the air compressor is doing great. So it's time to move on to the milling, and we'll just continue on that last rail there. We'll do all of our roughing on the 4 rails using our roughing end mill, and then put our finishing end mill, and then go back to that side to finish it out. So we just roughed this outer rail here. We still have 3 more that we need to rough in, but I was going to show you, this is how I've been checking the measurement. So I'm using my Starrett adjustable parallel, and just take some calipers here, and we're just gauging it that way. So we're leaving ourselves like 10 thousandths to clean this up with our finishing mill. So I'm just verifying that we're on that right there. We got about 10 thousandths to go, so everything's good on that right there. There's your adjustable parallel. All right, and we'll keep it going. I'll go ahead and get these other 3 rails roughed in, and then we'll start on the finishing. Okay, I've got the finishing mill loaded up there in the spindle. We're going to do a mid-program start on line 81, and this is going to begin the finishing of the insides of the rails. Go ahead and hit cycle start, cycle start. Yes, we want to start on line 81. And I've got the feed all the way down. Always, I'm starting it in at a slow feed rate just to make sure that everything's right and we don't crash it. Everything should be good to go here. Yep, all right. We're gonna bump it up Going up to our 100% on our feed, right there. And let her cut. Everything's been going really well for me today. Been lucky so far and haven't had any kind of crashes or problems. Except for in the beginning when I first started, I was offsetting Y in the wrong direction. Actually, I think I mentioned that. I offset Z instead of Y, so I had to correct that and bring Z back to the correct position and it offset Y. But it's going really well. More of the same that you've already seen now. We're going to finish out these 4 rails with our finishing cuts, and then when we get through, what we'll do, we'll put our expanding, adjustable parallel back in the rail. We'll use a micrometer and measure it. So whatever we measured the first rail here last night, we were getting 0.786. Our target, or the target that Aaron had put in, was 0.787. So we were 1/1000ths under what our target was, and I know that's easy to compensate. In your tool wear, you can offset it by 1/1000ths and get that, but I don't see the reason to make it go out to 787. That 1/1000th isn't really going to make a difference to me. It's just so that if you want to key something on there, or alignment pins or things like that, but hopefully they'll all finish out at 0.786, but we'll check it and see. So it's coming along. We're almost done with the machining of the bed here. That'll be our last pass to make there, finishing out that inside of the rail. Cycle complete. We now have all of our rails machined. They were all machined, so we'll go ahead and let me get some of them cleaned off here. We'll get those 4 kind of cleaned off. Let's do a measurement and see if our size stayed consistent from this rail over to the back rail there. So this is what we're using to measure the slot. So this is an adjustable parallel. This is my Starrett number 154C adjustable parallel. Before I start, I'm going to take my precision flat stone and just rub it like that, just to kind of remove any of the burrs that might be on the edge that we're using to measure with. All right, now let me move this out of the way so I don't knock it down in there. I went ahead and through this section right here and just kind of cleaned the rails off, wiped the inside off so that there's no chips in there. I like it here because you got to look, this is an opening you can use to drop T-nuts in there. So it gives me a little bit more room to kind of work my finger down in here. So we're just gonna stick it down in there where it's the full width of the bar. And I'm trying to squeeze it together so that it expands apart and is kind of snug inside there. It's got some friction on it. Now I'm gonna take my 0 to 1. We got my 0 to 1 Starrett mic here. And we're gonna give it a mic and it should read 786, and that it is. 786, so this one's measuring the same as this rail. This is our first one, our second one. let's move down and measure the other 4 there. Pull that one out there, just make sure there's no more chips in there. Squeeze it good so you got some contact there. You can see some good friction to it. Trying to get it squared up like it should be. That one looks like we're a 1/2 thousandths. So this one's a 1/2 thousandth smaller than this one that right there. So I don't know, maybe we're getting a little bit of wear. So let's move over to this one and see what this one measures. All right, we just come around here to the back side to access this one here. That one also, this one here is also a 1/2 thousandth smaller than the first 2 there. All right, we got 2 more to measure. Almost at 1/1000th smaller. Let's see what that's measuring there. We'll pull that off. I'm gonna read the tenths, so that's 785. Trying to get to the tenths here. 785. So 785 and 2/10. All right, we got 1 more to measure. So 785 and 2/10 on this one. So these 2 are measuring the same. So we're approximately 1/1000th smaller on the second half of the machine versus the front half. So I'm gonna throw out a guess and contribute that to maybe tool wear, because you got to remember each pass that we're making with this is 20 feet. So each one of these rails that we're cutting totals 40 feet total. So we've got a lot of footage here that this cutter's been working. But you know, I'm happy with the consistency. We're less than 1/1000th difference on across all these rails there. So I think this is going to be good to go, just the way it is. Let's do an air blast through the tool there and blow all the coolant out of the spindle and the tool. Got it on a 10-second dwell. There we go. And if you don't hit manual and you open the door, you cause the alarm to go off. We have successfully machined the bed for our Flex CNC mill. Everything is finished up with the exception of machining a little chamfer on there. I'm gonna wait and do that off camera, make sure that Aaron can check everything and we have the tool set right and get the chamfer done on that. Shouldn't be no problem at all. One of the cool things about the Flex software and how this system is designed is that anybody there at Flex can actually access the software here remotely using the Wi-Fi. So they can come in here if they need to and help me either write a program or modify a program or check to make sure that I have things correct. Maybe if I'm having an issue or a problem with the machine, they can get in here and do whatever needs to do remotely, just like if they were actually standing here. So that's going to be a great benefit, being able to come in here and double check me and make sure I'm doing things correctly on the machine. But one of the things that I didn't exactly think about going into this project was how much cleanup there was going to be. We actually have quite a bit of cleanup to do now. I'm going to start getting all the chips brushed down in there. We'll activate the auger there to kind of pull them all out. But we definitely got a lot of cleanup. I got a couple chip brushes to help me with that, but we're going to try to come up with maybe a clever way to manage the chips and getting it cleaned off. But more on that later on. I've really enjoyed this project. It's definitely another big time learning experience for me. I have so much more to learn. I mean, we're really just touching the edges right here on what we're getting accomplished. And for me personally, it is it's very intimidating for me. It's like learning a new language, seriously, for me. You know, guys that's been doing CNC machining for several years or for a career, they know this stuff inside and out, no problem to them. They know the G codes, they know what every code stands for, or have a good understanding of what all of them are for. I'm just now learning that, so it's all new language to me. I do have a binder, a book that's got all the codes in there that I can study and try to get more familiar with it. There's charts inside the software, just like on the Miltronics, that give you the entire list of all your G codes and what they do. It's just learning that language and then being fluent with it and being able to apply that to the software. Now that's, of course, when you want to go up here to the programmer and manually put something in there to make the machine do something, you know, but we'll get more involved, more advanced, and be able to write, be able to, you know, do CAD and CAM and use the software like Fusion to help us do our machining once we get to that stage. But this has been fun. Big thanks to Aaron for coming down here and helping me with this. He couldn't stay very long, personal things going on for him, but I think he's going to be able to come back down in another couple months and work with me again. Hopefully at that point we're going to be a little bit more advanced. Maybe we'll have a job here that he can help me with, or a project that we can get on here and start making some serious chips, do something a little more fun than just machining the bed. I did want to reiterate that the machining of the bed is not something that is typically done at the customer or the end user. Flex, for the most part, always pre-machines these beds at their factory there in Ohio. So I don't want people thinking that this is the normal, that a customer gets it and you have to machine it like we're doing right here. We opted to do this to kind of give me a little bit more training of the machine and to help provide a little bit of content for you guys to be able to enjoy too. So if you are interested in a Flex, they definitely finish this at the shop before they send it out. And then it's a matter of doing all the proper leveling like Chris did whenever he come in here to set the machine up. So I think that's going to be about it for this video here. I hope you enjoyed. I've got a lot of cleanup that I'm getting ready to start on now. But yeah, I really hope you enjoyed the video, and we've got a lot more to share. So I hope to see you again very soon.